Hi, ArcfieldWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Thursday morning, March the 28th. Still looks like we have some cold air outbreaks to deal with across the northern U.S. going into next week, the first week of April. In fact, a very impressive cold air shot. Looks like it'll arrive into the Great Lakes region and then the Mid-Atlantic, Northeast U.S. in about a week's time, let's say next Wednesday or Thursday. That will be accompanied by a very strong upper level low, and it looks like that indeed could result in a strong surface low developing just off the Mid-Atlantic or southern New England coastline by about next Wednesday or Thursday, and accumulating snow is indeed on the table, especially for some of the higher elevations of the Northeast U.S., let's say upstate New York, certainly northern New England, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine can get some accumulating snow in about a week's time. We're talking next Wednesday or Thursday, and we'll kind of focus in on that threat over the next several minutes. But first I wanted to start talking here about the latest on the sea surface temperature anomalies, not only in the Pacific Ocean, but around the world as well. Notice kind of an increasing area here of colder than normal conditions as represented by the blue here just off the west coast of South America. This will kind of seemingly expand to the west here over the next few weeks as these temperatures drop from slightly above normal to near neutral, and then ultimately in about a month or two to below normal again. La Nina is starting to evolve here. El Nino that we experienced last year is continuing to dissipate here, and again, the colder than normal conditions will expand westward over the next several weeks, and we'll have a full-fledged La Nina here by late spring, certainly by early summer, and that could indeed play a significant role on the upcoming tropical season. Generally speaking, La Nina in the tropical Pacific aids in the intensification and development and intensification of tropical systems in the Atlantic basin. So La Nina developing out here is a favorable sign for tropical activity out in the Atlantic basin. On top of that, of course, we have warmer than normal conditions really throughout the Gulf of Mexico and Caribbean Sea and much of those breeding grounds of the Atlantic Ocean. So that combined with the La Nina favors a lot of activity, and in the next few weeks I plan to come out with my tropical outlook for the Atlantic Basin. Indeed, looks like an active year. Now, other areas of interest I want to point out, there are certainly some colder than normal water showing up in other parts of the world here now. North Pacific Ocean, also the Atlantic, the North Atlantic has some colder than normal conditions showing up here, and a lot of the southern half of the southern hemisphere. This is the equator right across this region right here, and we see quite a few areas here of colder than normal conditions here in the Southern Ocean. And why this is interesting, it'll be interesting to monitor the unfolding of this overall water temperature pattern over the next several months. Some of the forecast models, the long-range forecast models out to the fall or even the early part of next winter, suggests not only La Nina out across the tropical Pacific, but also suggests a lot of colder than normal water, kind of unusual. We haven't really had that across a large part of the globe over the last several years. So it'll be interesting to see how the North Atlantic and the North Pacific evolve over the next several months. And not only that, the Indian Ocean and like surrounding Australia, certainly some signs that point to a flip here from warmer than normal to colder than normal. So it'll be interesting to monitor the change in sea surface temperatures over the next several months. Well, let's take a look at the 850 millibar temperature anomalies. We're looking at, we're using the Canadian model run from last night at 0Z. Again, a continuation of cold air outbreaks into the U.S. from Canada. Here's one widespread area right now as we speak over the northern plains, the Great Lakes region. Here on Thursday morning, March the 28th. We'll move forward here. Some of that colder than normal air reaches the eastern states on Friday. Strong northwest winds on Friday, probably gusting to 35 or 40 miles per hour or so. Places like D.C., Philadelphia, New York City. In Philly and New York City, the home openers from today have been postponed to tomorrow. Does indeed look dry on Friday, maybe a mix of clouds and sun for the Phillies in South Philly and for the Mets in New York City, but the winds will be a noticeable factor out of the northwest and kind of cool conditions as well. Now, let's quickly move forward here into the weekend, and here we go. By Sunday morning, a pretty widespread area of above normal conditions, shaping up to be a pretty nice Easter Sunday. Mid-Atlantic region, Tennessee and Ohio valleys, all the way out to south central states. Quite a nice Easter Sunday shaping up. Probably highs of 60 plus degrees in places like DC, Philadelphia, maybe 60 degrees also in New York City on Sunday afternoon. Now we'll push forward here and notice upstream here the development of a pretty large area of below normal conditions. This is now next Wednesday, the middle of next week, or already in April now. Monday begins April. This is the forecast map for April 3rd, next Wednesday. And this area kind of expands by the time we get to next Thursday. Widespread area, below normal conditions here in the eastern half of the nation a week from right now, next Thursday, April 4th. And we'll take a look in a moment at the 500 millibar height anomalies. Strong upper level low will develop as it slides across the Great Lakes into the northeast. And all this can lead to some accumulating snow in about a week's time, next Wednesday or Thursday, across some portions of the northeastern states. Well, let's indeed take a look at the 500 millibar height anomalies. Upper level low situated this morning just south of the Hudson Bay, and kind of a secondary system over the Gulf region here. We'll move forward here into the day on Friday. This slides to the east. Friday will be a day on the backside of departing low pressure that moves out over the western Atlantic. Northwest winds gusting again up to 40 miles per hour or so in portions of the I-95 corridor region. Then a ridge pops up over the south central states, and it kind of expands into the mid-Atlantic region. So this whole part of the nation looks like they'll be shaping up for quite a nice Easter Sunday. Not so nice across California. Yet another Pacific Ocean storm moves into California by the second half of the upcoming weekend. Now, let's go through the first and half of next week, and here we go. By the time we get to Tuesday and then Wednesday morning right here, kind of an intensifying, a developing upper level system here situated next Wednesday over the Ohio Valley. We go out to next Thursday, and that's an impressive pattern here for this time of the year, with a deep upper level low right off the New England coastline, and there will certainly be a surface low as well. We'll see the surface maps in a moment. It looks like an initial surface low will probably ride up well to the north and west in this fashion, and then dissipate as a secondary system forms at the surface just off the southern New England coastline. But a lot of cold air, colder than normal air, and this can lead to some accumulating snow next Wednesday, Thursday time frame, and much of especially the higher elevations of the northeast U.S. Well, let's wrap up with the surface forecast maps from the Canadian model run at 0Z last night. Indeed, there was low pressure that formed over that stalled out frontal boundary zone right along the eastern seaboard, and this low is kind of lengthening the period of rain that began yesterday in the mid-Atlantic region all the way well into this afternoon as it slowly moves to the north and east. Let's push forward here. It finally moves off the coast, and here we go. By Friday morning, that low pressure area moves from the Carolina coastline to out over the western Atlantic. By tomorrow morning, on the backside, there'll be strong northwest winds, again gusting up to 35 or 40 miles per hour or so in the mid-Atlantic region. Kind of a cool day also, but there will be a mix of clouds and sun, certainly playable weather conditions for the Phillies and Mets on Friday afternoon. Now, let's push forward here again. A pretty widespread area of decent weather by the time we get to Sunday. This is Easter Sunday, very nice in the south central states, the southeast U.S., and even much of the mid-Atlantic region should experience at least partly sunny skies on Sunday. Mild, relatively mild for this time of the year. 60-degree highs at least in DC and Philadelphia, for example. Now let's move forward here and start to see inclement weather really starting to set itself up over the Great Lakes by the time we get to next Tuesday. And upstream, you can see another low pressure area with a lot of blue here. That's represents areas of snow here on this particular set of model runs on these surface forecast maps. This slides to the south and east by the time we get to the middle of next week. And again, this initial surface low may push up in this fashion here northwest of the I-95 corridor, and a secondary will form right off the Mid-Atlantic or New England coastline. The rapidness, the speed at which this system develops, and the intensity will help to dictate how much accumulating snow can fall next Wednesday or Thursday in the northeastern part of the nation. Notice these blue thickness lines here. The lower the thickness, the lower the temperature. When you have a 528 thickness line right here in the first week of April, that's pretty darn impressive cold here. Now let's go out a little bit farther in time, and here we go. This system ends up becoming kind of the dominating system here. This is next Wednesday evening. By the time we get into next Thursday, rapid intensification. Let's backtrack a little bit. Look at the millibar level, 990 here next Wednesday evening, and by Thursday morning 970. So you have a rapidly intensifying surface system that's totally feasible with that upper level low moving right to this area here. Accumulating snow could be the result. This model run actually has some snow all the way down into southeastern PA and central New Jersey. Again, we're a week out. This is speculation phase, but certainly this is something is on the table here for the next Wednesday or Thursday time frame. A lot of cold air in this part of the nation relative to normal for that first week of April. We'll go out a little farther in time, and it dumps a lot of snow just to the south and east of Maine, so we'll continue to monitor now all the way down to a 962 millibar low. And here we go next Thursday evening. This is a week from this evening. Northwest flow, cold air all the way down into the Carolinas for this time of the year. So still some interesting weather, especially across the northeast U.S. Going all the way through next week. Again, the chance for some accumulating snow in portions of the northeastern states, let's say next Wednesday, Thursday time frame, something we will monitor over the next several days. Over the next several months, we will continue to monitor the evolution of the change in the sea surface temperature pattern, not only in the central part of the Pacific Ocean, the tropical part of the Pacific Ocean, but throughout the Pacific, the Atlantic, and even the Indian Ocean. Some big changes are possible by this fall and early part of the upcoming winter season. That's it for now. For ArcfieldWeather.com, this has been meteorologist Paul Dorian.